The final ride always feels the quietest, right before it breaks your heart. Heartland. Season 20 isn't just another chapter, it's the moment everything we thought was safe finally starts to change. Love is tested, legacies are questioned, and Amy Fleming stands at the edge of a life she never planned to leave behind. This season doesn't ask if Heartland will end. It asks how much it will cost to let go. There is something different in the air at Heartland as Season 20 begins. Not loud, not dramatic, but heavy, the kind of silence that settles in before a storm. Life on the ranch continues as it always has. Horses to train, fences to mend, land to protect, yet everyone feels it. This is no longer just about surviving another year. It's about deciding who they are without the version of Heartland they've always known. Amy Fleming stands at the center of it all, even though she doesn't try to. She has spent her entire life healing broken horses, holding together a family that has faced more loss than most people could survive. But now, the story is slowly pulling her away from the place that made her who she is. Season 20 makes one thing clear right away. Amy is being guided toward a future that cannot exist at Heartland forever. The emotional weight of this season comes from what isn't being said. Amy loves this land. She loves the memory of Ty, the promise she once made to build a life rooted here, and the family that still depends on her. But love doesn't always mean staying. Sometimes it means choosing growth, even when it hurts. That internal conflict drives every moment of her story this season. You can see it in the way she pauses before making decisions, in how she looks at the ranch like she's memorizing it, just in case. At the same time, the family dynamic begins to shift in ways that feel permanent. Jack is still the backbone of Heartland, but he's no longer charging into every battle the way he used to. There's wisdom in his restraint now, a quiet understanding that the next generation must step forward, even if he doesn't fully agree with how they do it. Jack knows when an era is ending, and Season 20 lets that realization sit uncomfortably on his shoulders. Lou, on the other hand, is pulled back into the center of responsibility. Where Amy is being drawn away, Lou is being pulled in. Running Heartland is no longer a temporary duty or a shared burden. It's becoming her role, whether she's ready for it or not. Season 20 begins setting her up as the one who will carry the ranch forward, and that pressure shows. Lou isn't just managing land, she's managing expectations, traditions, and the fear of being the one who lets something sacred slip away. Then there's Nathan. His presence in this season changes the emotional balance of the entire show. He isn't trying to replace Ty, and the story is careful about that. Instead, Nathan represents something new, a future that doesn't erase the past, but refuses to be defined by it. His relationship with Amy is quieter, more grounded, but no less intense. What makes it suspenseful isn't whether he loves her, it's whether Amy can allow herself to fully step into a life that exists beyond Heartland. Season 20 also carries the consequences of everything that came before. Betrayals have been exposed, truths have surfaced, and forgiveness hasn't come easily. The scars left by Gracie's manipulations still linger, not just in Nathan's life, but in the trust between everyone involved. Even though she's no longer physically present, her actions echo through every major decision. The damage she caused forced Nathan to grow up fast, and Season 20 shows us a man trying to do the right thing, even when the right thing costs him everything. And that's the core tension of this season. Every character is faced with sacrifice. Stay or leave, hold on or let go, protect the past or gamble on the future, Heartland. Season 20 doesn't rush these choices. It lets them breathe, making every step toward change feel earned and painful. By the end of this opening stretch, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Heartland is not ending because it failed. It's ending because its people have outgrown the version of it they once needed. And that realization is what makes this final season so powerful, so emotional, and so impossible to look away from. When you're ready, tell me to continue, and I'll write Section 2, where the romance, pressure, and looming final decision start colliding in ways no one can avoid. As the season moves forward, the calm that opens Season 20 begins to crack. Not all at once, but slowly, the way trust does when it's been stretched too thin. Amy's future is no longer just an idea floating in the distance. It's standing right in front of her, asking for an answer she isn't sure she's ready to give. Nathan becomes impossible to ignore. He isn't pushing, but his presence carries weight. Every conversation between them feels loaded, like both of them know they're running out of time to pretend this is temporary. Nathan has already lost too much: his family, his trust, his sense of stability, and season 20 shows us a man who refuses to build his future on shaky ground ever again. He wants clarity, he wants commitment, and most of all, he wants Amy to choose him, not as an escape, but as a partner. Amy, however, is caught in an emotional tug-of-war. Loving Nathan feels right, but leaving Heartland feels wrong. The ranch isn't just a place, it's where her identity was formed. Every fence post, every trail, every horse carries a memory. Ty's shadow is still there, not haunting her, but reminding her of promises made and dreams interrupted. Season 20 handles this with care. Amy isn't torn because she doubts Nathan. She's torn because choosing him means finally closing a chapter she never wanted to end. Lou notices the shift before anyone else does. She sees the way Amy hesitates, the way she pulls back when conversations turn toward the future. At the same time, Lou feels the weight of responsibility settling on her own shoulders. Heartland is starting to rely on her in ways it never has before. Decisions that used to be shared now land squarely in her hands. And with Amy slowly stepping away, Lou begins to realize that holding the ranch together may come at the cost of her relationship with her sister. Jack watches all of this quietly. He doesn't interfere, but his concern is clear. He's lived long enough to know that big changes don't announce themselves loudly. They creep in, disguised as progress. Jack worries not just about Heartland surviving, but about what it will become without Amy at its heart. Yet he also understands something the others are still learning, that stopping someone from leaving only builds regret. Season 20 allows Jack to be both protective and resigned, a man who knows when to fight and when to step aside. The tension rises as Nathan starts making concrete plans. This isn't just talk anymore. He's thinking about land, about building something that belongs to them, about creating a future where Amy doesn't have to choose between love and purpose. When he finally opens up about these plans, it becomes a turning point. His honesty forces Amy to confront the reality she's been avoiding. Staying undecided is no longer an option. At the same time, unresolved wounds resurface. The fallout from Gracie's betrayal still lingers, especially for Nathan. Season 20 shows how deeply that manipulation damaged him and how hard he's working to prove he isn't defined by it. His actions aren't driven by anger anymore, but by accountability. He wants to make things right, even if that means personal sacrifice. This maturity makes him harder to dismiss and impossible to doubt. Amy feels the pressure building from all sides. Heartland needs her. Her family needs her. Nathan needs her. And for the first time, she's forced to ask herself a question she's never fully answered before. What does she need? Not as a daughter, not as a sister, not as the girl who heals horses, but as a woman who deserves a future that doesn't revolve around loss. By the end of this section, the emotional stakes are clear. Love is no longer gentle. It's demanding. The past is no longer quiet. It's asking to be acknowledged. And Amy stands right in the middle, knowing that whatever choice she makes will change everything. Not just for her, but for the entire Heartland family. The countdown has begun, even if no one says it out loud. Say the word and I'll continue with Section 3, where the proposal, the fallout, and the point of no return collide. There comes a point in every long-running story where change stops circling and finally strikes. In Season 20's say, this is that moment. What began as quiet tension now turns into emotional confrontation, forcing every character to face truths they've been avoiding for far too long. Nathan reaches his breaking point first. Carrying uncertainty has cost him too much already, and he refuses to let fear control his future again. When he finally speaks his heart to Amy, it isn't dramatic or polished. It's raw, honest. He doesn't promise perfection. He promises effort, stability, and a life built on trust instead of secrets. He lays everything out. His plan to buy land, to start fresh, to create a home where Amy and Lindy can belong without being pulled in a dozen directions. And then he asks the one question that changes the entire season. Will she choose this life with him? The proposal divides emotions instantly. Some see it as rushed. Others see it as overdue. But season 20 isn't interested in spectacle, it's interested in truth. Nathan's words aren't meant to compete with the past, they're meant to stand beside it. He isn't trying to replace Ty's legacy, he's asking Amy to stop punishing herself for surviving it. Amy's reaction is quiet, and that's what makes it powerful. She doesn't say yes right away, she doesn't say no either. Her hesitation isn't doubt, it's grief. Grief for the life she thought she would live, for the promises that were never fulfilled, and for the version of herself that believed Heartland would always be enough. This moment forces Amy to finally confront something she's never fully allowed herself to admit. Staying isn't the same as healing. The family feels the impact immediately. Lou struggles the most. Amy leaving doesn't just mean change, it means loss. Not of a sister, but of a partner in carrying the weight of Heartland. Lou fears being left behind, even as she steps into leadership. The tension between them isn't explosive, but it's real. For the first time, their paths are clearly splitting, and neither of them knows how to navigate that without hurting the other. Jack, meanwhile, offers the quiet wisdom only he can. He doesn't give Amy permission. He gives her peace. His words don't tell her what to do. They remind her that living only for the past is its own kind of betrayal. Jack understands legacy better than anyone. And in his eyes, legacy isn't about staying in one place forever. It's about carrying the values of Heartland wherever life takes you. Nathan faces his own consequences as well. His decision to sell his family's ranch to repay Heartland becomes public, and opinions are divided. Some see it as noble, others see it as unnecessary. But for Nathan, it's about accountability. He refuses to build a future on land tied to lies and manipulation. This act cements his transformation, from a man controlled by family loyalty to one guided by integrity. And that choice earns him something he's never fully had before: respect. As pressure builds, Amy finally reaches her answer. Not through a dramatic speech, but through acceptance. She realizes that choosing Nathan doesn't mean abandoning Heartland. It means trusting that everything Heartland taught her will live on through her choices. Her decision is less about romance and more about courage. The courage to step forward instead of standing still. By the end of this section, the direction of Season 20, Maisi, is locked in. Engagements aren't just promises, they're commitments with consequences. Roles within the family have shifted. The ranch is changing hands emotionally, even if not legally. And Amy's journey is no longer about whether she will leave Heartland, it's about how she will say goodbye. Nothing can go back to the way it was. And for the first time, that doesn't feel like a tragedy. It feels inevitable. When you're ready, I'll continue with Section 4, where preparations begin, emotions resurface, and the cost of moving on becomes painfully clear. Once the decision is made, the weight of it doesn't disappear. It gets heavier. Season 20 slows down here, letting every emotion land, because moving forward is never as simple as choosing to do so. For Amy, the future she agreed to now demands action, and every step toward it feels like both progress and loss. Preparations for a new life begin quietly. Plans are discussed, timelines take shape, and suddenly the idea of leaving is no longer abstract. It's real. Amy finds herself looking at Heartland differently now. Not as a place she might leave someday, but as a place she is preparing to say goodbye to. The smallest moments hit the hardest. Routine tasks feel loaded with memory, and familiar spaces start to feel temporary. Season 20 understands that endings aren't loud. They whisper. Lou steps fully into her new role, and it doesn't come easily. Running Heartland isn't just about keeping the ranch profitable. It's about protecting something emotional, something sacred. Lou feels the pressure to prove she can do this without Amy by her side, and that pressure pushes her to be harder on herself than ever before. She worries about failing the ranch, failing Jack, and failing the legacy that's been built over decades. The closer Amy gets to leaving, the more Lou realizes that leadership often means standing alone. Jack watches both of his granddaughters with a mix of pride and quiet sorrow. He sees Amy growing into the woman she was always meant to be, and he sees Lou carrying a responsibility she never asked for. Jack understands that this is the natural order of things, but understanding doesn't erase the pain. Season 20 lets Jack grieve in his own way, through silence, reflection, and moments of connection that say more than words ever could. Nathan, meanwhile, is adjusting to what commitment truly means, Loving Amy isn't just about starting something new, it's about respecting what she's leaving behind. He doesn't rush her, he doesn't minimize her pain. Instead, he supports her through it, proving that this relationship isn't built on escape, but on partnership. This is where Nathan truly earns his place in the story, not through grand gestures, but through patience. As the wedding approaches, emotions rise, joy mixes with sadness, excitement with fear. Amy begins to feel the weight of expectation from all sides. People are happy for her, but that happiness comes with unspoken grief. Heartland has always been her anchor, and everyone feels the shift her absence will create. Season 20 doesn't shy away from this discomfort. It allows characters to struggle with change instead of instantly accepting it. Old wounds resurface in unexpected ways. Memories of Ty return, not as obstacles, but as reminders of how far Amy has come. She isn't replacing love, she's expanding it. This distinction is important, and the season treats it with care. Amy's journey isn't about forgetting, it's about honoring the past while refusing to live inside it forever. The tension builds toward an emotional breaking point. Amy realizes that leaving doesn't just mean walking away from a place. It means trusting her family to survive without her. That trust is the hardest part. For someone who has always been the steady center, stepping back feels unnatural. But Season 20 makes it clear. Growth requires letting others step forward, even when it's uncomfortable. By the end of this section, everything is in motion. The future is no longer something they're preparing for. It's arriving whether they're ready or not. And while there is love, hope, and excitement ahead, there is also grief, because every beginning carries the shadow of what it replaces. Heartland isn't breaking, it's evolving. And evolution always comes at a cost. Tell me when you're ready, and I'll deliver Section 5, the final chapter, where the wedding, the time jump, and Amy's farewell bring Heartland's story to a powerful close. Every story reaches a moment where holding on becomes harder than letting go. In Heartland Season 20, that moment arrives not with chaos, but with clarity. The final stretch of the season doesn't rush toward its ending. Instead, it walks there slowly, giving every goodbye the respect it deserves. The wedding marks a turning point, not just for Amy and Nathan, but for the entire Heartland family. It isn't about spectacle or perfection, it's about intention. Every look, every quiet smile, every pause carries meaning. Amy isn't walking into a fantasy. She's stepping into a life she chose, fully aware of what she's leaving behind. That choice gives the moment its power. This isn't an escape from Heartland. It's proof that Heartland did its job. For Lou, the ceremony is bittersweet. She stands strong, supportive, and proud, even as she feels the final shift settle into place. Heartland is hers now in a way it never fully was before. The responsibility is real, and so is the fear. But there's also confidence. Lou has grown into this role through pressure and loss, and Season 20 allows her to claim it without apology. The ranch will continue, not unchanged, but alive. Jack's perspective brings the emotional weight full circle. He has seen generations come and go, watched love begin and end, and carried the burden of legacy longer than anyone else. In this final chapter, Jack doesn't mourn what's ending. He honors it. He understands that the true success of Heartland isn't measured by who stays forever, but by who leaves strong enough to build something new. Nathan, standing beside Amy, represents stability without possession. He isn't saving her. He's walking with her. Their relationship doesn't erase the past. It carries it forward with honesty. That's what makes it feel earned. Nathan doesn't need to be perfect. He needs to be present, and Season 20 proves that he is. Then comes the moment that defines the ending. Time moves forward. Life continues. In a quiet hospital room, Amy holds her child, and everything becomes clear. This is the future Heartland made possible. Not land, not buildings, not tradition, but people who grow, love, and carry its values into the world. Amy's journey comes full circle here. She began as a girl healing broken horses, and she ends as a woman who healed herself. This moment isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's peaceful, earned, final. As Amy looks ahead, Heartland doesn't fade away. It lives on through Lou's leadership, Jack's wisdom, and the legacy passed down through generations. The ranch remains, changed but unbroken. And Amy leaves not as someone running away, but as someone moving forward. Heartland. Season 20 doesn't end with loss. It ends with gratitude. Gratitude for where the journey began, and hope for where it leads next. This isn't goodbye forever. It's the last ride, and it's beautiful.